4 weapons, 3 operators, 2 maps, 2 perks, 1 new kill streak, 2 major points of interest, and multiple changes coming to Caldera and Rebirth Island, multiple new gameplay features, a new zombies hub map, the ray gun, and much more. Season 2 is officially revealed now at this point, with a trailer to kick things off earlier this morning, around 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, to a full reveal vlog and roadmap that introduced us to everything upcoming in Season 2 across Vanguard and Warzone that came out a little later. Today we're breaking down everything that you need to know, what you can expect, and when you can see all this launching here and getting your hands on it as players. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you looking forward to anything in particular out of Season 2 here that was revealed? Anything you're really excited for? Anything you're hoping to hear a little bit more about soon? Whatever the case, drop it down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Season 2 and COD related. We've got a lot of stuff up on deck these next few days to weeks, so make sure you're here for all of it. But anyways, lots to discuss, so let's just jump right into it. First thing, I want to talk about the updates themselves, when we can actually expect these, because they're a little bit different here compared to other seasonal updates that we've seen in the recent past. Vanguard's update goes out at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. in the UK on February 10th. That being this Thursday, but the seasonal content, that doesn't go live until Season 2's launch on the 14th. So I'm very curious to see what will bleed through here, given that the MP kind of almost always, as of recently, has had things tethered to the fundamental basics of MP that have to be released before the seasonal content itself is released. So curious to see if anything comes of that, but Warzone's update then goes live on the 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. in the UK, and then thus kicks off Season 2. So at that point, then even all the new multiplayer maps, new weaponry, battle pass, all that kind of stuff, that's when all of that will go live for Vanguard and Warzone as well. So we don't have an overnight launch with this update, which is definitely interesting, but I'm kind of liking it. But that said, along with this, we did end up getting a brand new roadmap here, which does detail quite a bit of stuff coming across Warzone, Vanguard, multiplayer, and zombies, as well as detailing all the operators and bundles and perks and things that you can see scattered across, all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna break down each thing individually here, because there's a lot to detail out of each of these rather than just, well, what we see at a glance. But personally, I want to start out with the Warzone side of things. Now, we're going to deviate a little bit from what their blog details in sort of the sequential order with it, because I think probably one of the biggest things here that is coming to Warzone is that we have multiple new points of interest coming to Caldera, which previously we did have that leak of what we will see as Chemical Factory, but we actually have a little bit more coming that was detailed along with that. Now, Chemical Factory is that repurposing of the refinery that was just north of Peak, right at the base of that mountain here. But that is now something that's repurposed for the storyline to be producing the new Nebula 5 gas. Now, being that this is a sort of hot point of contention in the story, it is something that will have some high-level loot, and it's going to be a nice hot drop for those that can land, take out all the enemies, and survive and come out of there with everything going into mid and late game. Now, there is a difference here, though, because they did say that this now has a level of enemy soldiers who protect the facility and a trap that can be sprung in the central building. So this is kind of like what we saw with the Nakatomi Plaza underground parking level, something that has some AI bots that will be giving you some trouble right off the rip. Now, it's unclear if these guys will be able to respawn and they'll be continuously coming back, but an interesting level of added air quote protection here for this that adds a little bit more challenge. Now, there's also going to be underground chemical weapon research labs, but this is something that doesn't state is one specific point of interest. Instead, there's going to be multiple. According to the blog post, there are going to be 7 of these around the map, and if I were to guess, this is probably what's tethered to those bunkers and those hatches that we've seen across Caldera so far. Now, it is mentioned that we will see a hand-drawn yellow circle on the TAC map that denotes where these are, but with only one way in and out of these facilities, just like the bunkers in Verdansk, it is going to be something that you want to make sure that you get in, loot up quick, and get out before an ambush is set. But very excited to see how these play, very excited to see that we have more than just one point of interest being added into the fray here with this. But one thing that I'm very curious is that it's mentioned we'll have some rebirth changes in Season 2 as well. It said with the mid-season update, as Caldera's secrets come to light, something lurks within Rebirth Island shadows. Expect substantial changes to the prison island during the mid-season update. Now, we can't gather much from the preview image that's given, but I'm wondering if this redesign is what is expected for the anniversary of Warzone, how it's being rumored that a brand new map will be coming to Rebirth, replacing that, but maybe instead it pulls a Verdansk 84, where it's a major revamp instead of an entire removal and replacement of said map. but we'll have to wait and see. Curious to see what this all leads to. On the Warzone side of things, though, we're going to have a couple of different major introductions here to how the game is actually played. That Nebula 5 gas that's being produced in the storyline is going to be quite integral to Caldera and what we see with the way the game plays. In Season 2, we're going to be introduced to the Nebula 5 ammo, which is classified as a field upgrade and kind of acts how Stopping Power did in that regard, where it's an extra magazine of ammunition, but it doesn't give you extra damage up front. Instead, whenever a player is downed by this, they'll emit a new toxic gas that makes it harder for players to get the revive on that downed player, offering up a bit more of an obstacle where they'll choke on it and do some damage if they don't have a gas mask. It'll activate the gas mask if they do have one, and so on and so forth. But going a step further, there's going to be Nebula 5 bombs as well, which are going to be available from the armored transport trucks that are on a remote and static track that will roam Caldera that you can attack, ambush, and end up getting out of it. But that Nebula 5 bomb is something that will do substantial damage upon explosion, but then will have lingering gas that will expand outward for 2 whole minutes. So that's going to be something that is incredibly strange to encounter for the first little bit here while people get used to it, but it's going to be a major curveball in how some engagements can be played. It'll be great for choking off points, forcing players in and around an area, so we'll see how that all plays out. But to combat that, we have the new portable decontamination stations, which are going to basically be your trophy systems as a field upgrade, but it's going to be something that gives you added protection so you could actually go through those gassed off areas from the Nebula 5 bombs or ammo. Outside of that, the bomber plane is going to be introduced here, in which that can destroy loadout drops, buy stations, and other things like that, but are very easily targeted by the regular planes. Now that bomber, though, as just like the planes, is only going to be in Vanguard modes. It's not going to be in standard battle royale, so don't worry too much if that's not your cup of tea. The redeploy balloon is kind of going to round out the new expansions here for Warzone, but I'm actually kind of liking this one here. It is similar to what we've seen in games like Apex Legends and things like that, where the redeploy balloon will allow you to zip line up it and then skydive and parachute towards other locations on the map, allowing for very quick access to other areas completely across the map. So very excited to see how that one works out, and I think that can introduce some good escapes and getaways in Warzone. But outside of that, it's also said we'll have some Iron Trials for Rebirth coming in season as well. Looking forward to that. As for Vanguard multiplayer, some of the big things here coming are, of course, our new weaponry. Coming through the Battle Pass, we'll have the KG M40, a brand new assault rifle, as well as the Whitley LMG. These are going to be available at tier 15 and 31, as they are always, and then in season, an SMG of the Armaguerra 43. We'll also have at some point the Ice Pick here, rounding out that 4th one that's being a melee weapon, but that's a little bit lesser of concern for me just because it is a melee weapon, but excited to see how these ones all play out. I'm all for a new rifle. A new LMG will be interesting to see how that plays out as well. But in other content, we'll have Casablanca as well as Gondola as 2 brand new maps coming in 6v6 and upwards for those combat pacings in regards to new multiplayer maps. Now, Casablanca is an interesting one because that was actually leaked, but not leaked a long while back. It was never really data mined or anything like that, but it was something that would glitch into people's map selection in private matches and sometimes even in public matches as well, where instead of saying like DOS house is what you're playing, it would come up with an error image, but have the text of Casablanca. So that is something that is finally coming here with this. Nice to see that. We'll see a returning kill streak of the ball turret gunner coming at a 12 kill streak, just like the attack dogs. So unfortunately, you can't have both of those if you're a slayer, but it is something that at season 2, you'll be able to wreak havoc on your enemies, and I definitely think that I'm going to be running that. I loved the ball turret gunner back in World War II. We'll have the sticky bomb as a new lethal equipment, so a cross between the frag grenade and the gammon bomb. You'll be able to stick it right to enemies, and that's going to be something that's interesting as well. In the battle pass, we'll have 2 new perks of Armory and Mechanic. The perk 1 slot will see Armory introduced, in which that's a hard counter to Engineer, which will then hide things like your demolition charges, concussion mines, and field upgrade pieces so that players cannot see those being placed down. And then Mechanic will be something that buffs the earn rate of the field upgrades for those that end up using them. Additionally, we'll end up having our brand new operators of Anna, Thomas, and Gustavo. Anna, of course, coming in the battle pass, Thomas and Gustavo coming in season, likely and unfortunately as bundles. So that means that those favorite operator weapons and things that go along with all of that, you're not really going to be able to get those new upgraded skins or anything unless you end up forking over like $50 here for both bundles, which is unfortunate, but it is something that those are being introduced as well. One thing that's kind of curious about the Vanguard and multiplayer side of things is that we might have actually been wrong about ground war, because it is something that we're seeing in season something called arms race and vehicles. And this is something that's described as an arms race with armed war machines in bigger than infantry combat. It's piloting motorcycles, squad transport vehicles, and tanks en route to destroying enemy bases. This and other features are expected to arrive during season 2. So that almost kind of sounds like a war game mode, and it seems like it's something that may not introduce us to as much as we may think in terms of traditional combat. So curious to see how that shapes up. It's pretty vaguely described right now, but we'll see how everything works out in that regard. Now, outside of that, on the multiplayer side of things, we are going to see ranked play kicking off with the launch of Season 2 here. This is something that is going to be described as being in beta, so we will see some more adjustments and alterations to it as time goes on, but it's going to be featuring league-approved rule sets, visible skill ratings, and a new competitive reward set, among other innovations from Treyarch and Sledgehammer Games' previous introductions into the ranked play scene in past Call of Duties. So curious to see how this all shapes up. Definitely, if it is worth grinding out, I think that I will be. I've had that competitive itch for quite some time now. Didn't quite like Black Ops Cold War last year, as we've talked about plenty of times, so I didn't really grind out League play then, but curious to see how this all shapes up now. And finally, zombies is going to be something that has a handful of different things. The big things that may stand out to you are the ray gun is finally coming back, and we're going to have a brand new map called Terra Maledicta. However, this brand new map isn't exactly what you may have expected or maybe hoped for. If you're somebody that is loving the traditional zombies experience of round-based, this doesn't seem to be doing that. It's going to introduce, just like Duranfang, a new hub location where you can then jump to via portals other areas in that map. But it is not something that looks to be traditionally round-based, which is likely unfortunate for a lot of people, but is going to be offered here with the launch of Season 2. But that said, that is the content offering for Season 2 across Warzone and multiplayer and zombies for Vanguard. So a lot on deck and a lot we're going to be breaking down here as time progresses and getting into as we gear up for Season 2. But right now, that's the preview, the reveal that we had here for it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys like this kind of stuff? Are you looking forward to jumping into it and getting your hands on the Season 2 content? What's your favorite part? Whatever the case, let me know your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Season 2, Warzone, Vanguard, and anything beyond. We got you covered here on the channel. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you in the community. That said, my name's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.